Welcome to Zen Safer, the place where stories come alive to calm your mind and ease you into a peaceful sleep. I'm your storyteller, and every night I bring you a new tale, sometimes mysterious, sometimes soothing, but always unforgettable. If you enjoy tonight's story, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss a journey into the world of dreams. Now, settle in, close your eyes, and let's dive into tonight's tale. Tonight, I'm going to share a story called The Lantern in the Fog. It's a tale of a weary traveler, a forgotten village, and a light that holds secrets older than time itself. There's a touch of suspense to keep you hooked, a whisper of mystery to stir your curiosity, and a gentle resolution to guide you into sleep. So find a comfortable spot, dim the lights, and let the story unfold. The wind howled softly through the barren trees, carrying with it the faint scent of damp earth and pine. Elias Kane pulled his coat tighter around his shoulders, his boots crunching against the gravel path that stretched endlessly into the night. He'd been walking for hours, maybe days. He couldn't quite tell anymore. Time had a way of slipping through his fingers ever since he'd left the city, chasing a rumor, a whisper of a place where the restless could find peace. He was tired, not just the kind of tired that came from a long day's work, but a bone-deep exhaustion that gnawed at his soul. Sleep had eluded him for months, night after night of staring at the ceiling, listening to the hum of a world that refused to slow down. That's why he was here, somewhere in the middle of nowhere, following a half-remembered tale about a village hidden in the fog, a place where the sleepless could finally rest. The fog thickened as he walked, curling around his legs like a living thing. It swallowed the stars above and muted the sounds of the forest until all he could hear was his own breathing and the steady rhythm of his footsteps. He didn't know where he was going. Not really. Just that the old man at the gas station had pointed him down this road and said, "Keep walking till you see the light." And then there it was. A faint glow flickered in the distance, cutting through the fog like a beacon. Elias squinted, his heart quickening. It wasn't the harsh glare of a street lamp or the cold beam of a flashlight. No, this was softer, warmer, a golden hue that danced like a flame. He adjusted the strap of his backpack and pressed forward, the light growing brighter with every step. As he drew closer, the outline of a lantern emerged. It hung from a crooked wooden post at the edge of a narrow bridge, its glass panes cracked but intact, the flame inside swaying gently despite the wind. The bridge itself was old, its planks weathered and moss-covered, stretching over a river Elias couldn't see. but could hear a low, steady rush of water beneath the fog. He hesitated. Something about the scene felt off. The lantern shouldn't have been burning, not out here, miles from anything resembling civilization. Who had lit it? And why? But exhaustion outweighed his caution, and he stepped onto the bridge, the wood creaking under his weight. Halfway across, he heard it, a whisper. Not the wind, not the river, but a voice, faint and fleeting, carried on the mist. "You're late," it said. Elias froze, his breath catching in his throat. He spun around, but there was nothing, just the fog and the lantern's glow behind him. His pulse raced, and yet there was a strange calm in the air, a pull that urged him to keep going. When he reached the other side, the fog parted, just enough to reveal a cluster of rooftops in the distance. A village. Small, silent, and shrouded in mist. It looked like something out of a dream or a nightmare. The lantern's light didn't reach this far, but another glow beckoned from the village square, faint but steady. Elias took a deep breath and started walking again. The streets were empty when he arrived, lined with stone cottages that seemed frozen in time. No light shone from the windows, no smoke rose from the chimneys. The only sound was the soft drip of water from a nearby well and the occasional rustle of leaves skittering across the cobblestones. At the center of the square stood a single lantern, identical to the one on the bridge, its flame casting long shadows that danced across the ground. Elias approached it slowly, his hand brushing the cold metal of its frame. Up close, he noticed something etched into the glass, a symbol, a circle with 3 lines curving inward like petals. It felt familiar, though he couldn't place it. As he stared, the flame flared briefly, and the whisper came again, clearer this time. "Sit," it said. He looked around, startled, and spotted a wooden bench nearby, half hidden in the shadows. His legs ached, his eyelids drooped, and despite the unease prickling at the back of his mind, he obeyed. The moment he sat, the air seemed to shift. The fog thickened around the square, swallowing the cottages until it was just him, the bench, and the lantern. And then the story began. Not a story he told himself, but one that seemed to rise from the fog itself. Images flickered in his mind. A woman in a long cloak, her face obscured, tending to the lantern with trembling hands. A man with weary eyes crossing the bridge, just as Elias had. A child laughing as she ran through the village streets, her voice echoing long after she'd vanished. The scenes played out like memories, vivid and fleeting, each one laced with a quiet sorrow and an even quieter hope. ... Elias didn't know how long he sat there, lost in the visions. Hours, maybe. The exhaustion that had plagued him for months began to melt away, replaced by a warmth that spread from his chest to his fingertips. The whispers wove through the stories, soft and melodic, like a lullaby he'd forgotten from childhood. "Rest now," they said. "You found it." He didn't fight it. His eyes drifted shut, his head tipped back against the bench, and for the first time in what felt like forever, sleep came. It wasn't a restless doze or a fleeting nap. It was deep, unbroken, and peaceful. The kind of sleep that heals more than just the body. When he woke, the fog was gone. The village square basked in the soft light of dawn. The lantern extinguished, but still standing watch. Elias stretched, feeling lighter than he had in years. The whispers were silent now. The stories faded, but their echo lingered in his mind, a gentle reminder of the night before. He stood, glancing at the lantern one last time. The symbol on the glass caught the sunlight, glinting faintly, and he smiled. He didn't know who had lit the lanterns, or why they'd called to him, but he didn't need to. He'd found what he came for. With a final nod to the village, Elias turned and walked back toward the bridge, the sound of the river guiding his steps. The world felt quieter now, softer, as if it had slowed just for him. And as he crossed the bridge, the lantern behind him flickered to life once more, waiting for the next weary soul to find its light. Elias crossed the bridge, and as the sound of his footsteps mingled with the rush of the river below, he felt a shift in the air. The first rays of sunlight were just peeking over the treetops, casting a golden glow. But there was a chill in that light, a chill that sent a shiver down his spine. He glanced back. The lantern was burning again, its flame swaying gently as if bidding him farewell. But something was wrong. The symbol, the circle with 3 inward curving petals, was no longer etched on the glass. Elias rubbed his eyes, wondering if sleep deprivation was playing tricks on him. But no, the pain was clear, as if the mark had never been there. His heart began to race. Had he dreamed it all? Or was the night he'd spent in the village not as simple as it seemed? He pressed forward, but after a few steps, he realized the path had changed. The gravel road that had brought him here was now a narrow, muddy trail. Dense trees loomed on either side, their branches hanging so low he had to duck to pass. The fog thickened again, but this time it wasn't golden. It was gray, heavy, and cold, like something rising from an ancient grave. "I didn't come this way," he muttered to himself, his voice swallowed by the mist. He reached into his backpack, pulled out his water bottle, and took a sip, trying to steady his nerves. But then he heard it, a faint giggle, like a child's laughter. He stopped, straining his ears. The sound came again, closer this time, followed by a woman's whisper. "He's here." Elias's throat went dry. He scanned the fog, but there was nothing to see. "Who's there?" he called, a tremor in his voice. The laughter grew louder in response, then abruptly stopped. The silence that followed was so deep he could hear his own heartbeat. He decided he had to keep moving. Turning back wasn't an option. The bridge and the lantern had vanished into the fog. As he took a step, his foot struck something. He looked down and saw a small wooden toy, a horse with broken wheels. He picked it up, and the moment his fingers brushed the wood, a cold breeze swept through. Carved into the toy was the same symbol, the circle with 3 petals. "What's happening?" he whispered. Then, through the fog, another light emerged, faint, trembling, but this time it was red. It wasn't a lantern, it was something else. Elias held his breath and moved toward it. As he drew closer, he saw an old house, wooden, dilapidated, with red light spilling from its windows. The door creaked open on its own, silently inviting him in. A wave of warmth washed over him as he stepped inside, accompanied by a scent. Lavender mixed with something that reminded him of his grandmother's kitchen. The door closed softly behind him. Inside, a fireplace burned, but its flames were red, not orange or yellow. In front of it stood a chair, draped with a black cloth. "Sit," a voice said, clear and deep. Elias looked around, but the room was empty. Still, he felt compelled to obey. As he sat, the cloth lifted into the air and vanished. A table appeared before him, and on it lay a book, old, leather-bound, with the familiar symbol embossed on its cover. The book opened on its own, and a golden light spilled from its pages. Elias leaned forward. Words were written in elegant script. "He who comes here is chosen. He who is chosen sees, and he who sees never forgets." Below that, in stark black ink, was his name, Elias Kane. His head spun. How was this possible? He reached for the book, but his fingers passed through it as if it were a ghost. The fireplace flared, and shadows began to dance across the room. He felt it then. He wasn't alone. Turning, he saw a figure in the corner. Tall, thin, its face shrouded in darkness. "Who are you?" Elias asked, his voice shaking. "I am the one who lights the lanterns," the figure replied. "And now, you are part of my story." What followed blurred the line between dream and reality for Elias. The figure explained that this village wasn't an ordinary place. It was a threshold, a doorway between time and memory. Each lantern held the story of a soul, and those who came here were given a choice: to hear a lantern's tale or to leave their own story behind. Elias now faced a decision. He could listen to the story of the lantern that had guided him here, living through that soul's joys and sorrows. Or he could surrender his own story, his exhaustion, his pain, his memories, and move on, though it would change him forever, perhaps leaving him as blank as an unwritten page. The room fell silent. The red flames in the fireplace dimmed. Elias looked at the book, then at the figure. His mind buzzed with questions, but his body was heavy with fatigue. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath. "I want to hear," he said. And so the story began. A tale that would bind him to this place for eternity, yet grant him the peace he'd been searching for. The figure stepped closer, its shadow stretching across the floor as the red flames in the fireplace flickered. Elias sat frozen, his hands gripping the arms of the chair, waiting for the story to unfold. The air grew thick, heavy with the weight of something ancient, something that had been waiting for him, or someone like him, for a very long time. "You've chosen wisely," the figure said, its voice a low hum that seemed to vibrate through the walls. "Not everyone does." It raised a hand, and the book on the table glowed brighter, its pages flipping rapidly until they settled on a single weathered sheet. Words began to form, not in ink, but in light, shimmering, shifting, alive. Elias leaned forward, his breath shallow. The light shaped itself into a scene. A woman standing by the river, her long cloak billowing in the wind. She held the lantern, the same one he'd seen on the bridge, its golden flame steady in her trembling hands. Her face was hidden beneath a hood, but her eyes caught the light, wide and searching, as if she were looking for something lost. "This is her story," the figure said, stepping back into the shadows. Her name was Mara. She came here centuries ago, just as you did, tired, broken, seeking rest. But she carried a burden heavier than yours. The scene shifted. Mara knelt by the riverbank, her hands digging into the earth. She pulled out a small wooden box, its surface carved with the three-petaled symbol. Inside was a locket, tarnished but intricate, and when she opened it, a faint melody played, a lullaby, soft and haunting. Elias felt a pang in his chest, as if the tune stirred a memory he didn't know he had. "She lost someone," the figure continued, "a child. The river took her daughter one stormy night, and Mara never forgave herself. She wandered these woods, sleepless, until she found the village. Like you, she crossed the bridge. Like you, she sat by the lantern. But unlike you, she didn't choose to listen. She chose to stay. The light from the book painted a new picture. Mara lighting the lantern, night after night, her figure growing thinner, her eyes hollower. The village around her faded, swallowed by fog, until it was just her and the light. She became the keeper, the figure said. Her story fuels the lanterns, guiding the lost, offering them peace or a choice. Elias's throat tightened. "Is she still here?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. The figure tilted its head. "Look around you," he did. The room seemed to shimmer, the walls dissolving into mist. For a moment, he saw her, Mara, standing by the fireplace, her cloak tattered, her hands cradling the locket. She didn't speak, but her eyes met his, and in them he saw a quiet gratitude. Then she faded, and the room solidified again. "She's in every lantern," the figure said, "and now you carry a piece of her too. Her piece is yours, if you'll take it." Elias felt it then, a warmth spreading through him, soft and steady, like the glow of the lantern. The exhaustion that had weighed him down for months began to lift, replaced by a stillness he hadn't known was possible. His eyelids grew heavy, his breathing slowed. "What happens now?" he murmured, his voice fading. "You rest," the figure replied, "and when you wake, you decide. Carry her story with you, or leave yours behind." The red flames dimmed to embers. The book closed with a soft thud. Elias leaned back in the chair, the lullaby from Mara's locket echoing faintly in his ears. The last thing he saw before sleep claimed him was the figure stepping toward the door, a new lantern in its hands, its flame golden once more. He slept, deeply, dreamlessly, wrapped in a peace that felt borrowed but real. The village, the fog, and the lanterns faded into the background, leaving only the sound of the river and the promise of a new dawn. And that's where we leave Elias and the mysterious village for tonight, my friends. I hope the lantern in the fog brought you a little suspense, a little wonder, and a lot of calm to ease you into sleep. What did you think of Mara's story? Did it pull you in, make you feel that quiet peace at the end? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you enjoyed this tale, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to Zen Safer for more stories that blend mystery with serenity. We'll be back soon with another journey into the unknown. So rest well, dream deep, and I'll see you in the next story. Good night, everyone. May your sleep be as peaceful as Elias's.